Hello, and I hope you're all doing great. In this video, we're talking about how to simulate a dice roll in the Python programming language. So first and foremost, I'm going to define a class named dice. Although this is not necessary for our main purpose, but it's always nice to practice encapsulation and have a place where alongside the dice roll method that we will explain today, I will be able to add any more data attributes or methods I want in the future in a bit to make a more complete program. So you can see the docstring I have in here. So it's always good to start your Python program with a docstring right at the top, explaining the purpose of the program and in short, simple words that what this program is about. So let's get coding. As I said, I'll first define a class named dice. So we should say class dice and a colon as the syntax suggests, and next line. So now I should define a method, right? I should define a method for the dice roll. So I can say def, and let's just call it dice underscore roll. Do keep in mind, the naming, the rules that we have for naming functions and methods, which are the same as those for naming variables. So define dice roll, and also do not forget to add the self parameter, since this is an instance method, so even each instance method should have the parameter self. Since I'm using a very regular Android IDE, but if you're using more advanced things, the likes of VS Code or say PyCharm or others, so they will just do this for you. They will automatically add the self parameter, but in here you should pay attention. And so define dice roll self and colon next line. Okay, so to get the job done, it's really easy to use a function called randit in Python. Yeah, for simulating a dice roll, it's really easy to use the function called randit. Randint, yeah. Randint, which means random integer. So this function, you give it a range from this number to this number, and it generates a random number from within that range. So that's exactly what we want in terms of dice roll, right? So we have a dice which has 6 sides, so we have 6 possible scenarios. It could be 1, 2, 3, all the way to 6. So we want to generate a random number within the range 1 to 6 and including 1 and 6. So the function randint is really useful in this case, randint. However, there is a catch. This function is not a built-in function in Python. Built-in function is a name used for those functions which are readily available in Python, which you can use with no worries, like print, like, string input, and the like. But this randint, this is not a built-in function. It belongs to the module random. So before all this, what I should do is to import that module to be able to use the randint function. So importing, it's by convention, it's best to have all the imports right at the top of the program. So I'll just go in here and say import random. So now I'm going to be able to use the randint function, but still it's not enough. Now that I've imported the module random, so I should qualify the function randint with its module name. So I should say random.randint, random.randint, and now it's fine. Now I can use the randint function. So before we proceed, there's just one more point I want to mention. So you see in here, I've set random.randint 1 to 6. So I want a number within the range 1 to 6 and including both the start and the end, right? So, I mean, if you're into Python, if you have worked a little before, so there's also a similar function called range. range. Okay, so it takes a maximum of 3 arguments, so we just focus on 2. So for example, I want to count from 1 to 6. So if I go and say range 1, 6, and I print this out actually, so I'm going to get from 1 to 5, which means that the range function includes the first number, but it stops exactly before the second number. So if you're having ascension, if you're going up, say from 1 to 6, so it will include the first number and minus 1 of the second number. So something like this, range 1, 6, will go and print from 1 to 5. You got the point? So if you're going up, it includes the first number exactly as it is, but the minus 1 of the second number. However, if you're going down, let's say range, we want to count from 6 down to 1. So if I say range 6, 1, and minus 1, so the third argument is for the step value. In here it's by default 1, so it adds 1. So in here I said minus 1, so I come down. So in this case, when I say range 6, 1, minus 1, I want to count from 6 all the way down to 1. But what this will actually do, that it includes the exact start at all times. So it will start from 6, but it will go down all the way to 2 and not 1. So as I said, it starts exactly from where you say, but stops right 1 before it. So if you're going up, it goes from 1 to 5, not 6. And if you're coming down, it goes from 6 to 2 and not 1. So in this case, so whenever this happens, like a programmer wants to print from 1 to 6, and he writes something like this and then gets from 1 to 5, or this case, so that is called a off by 1 error. Yeah, an off by 1 error. So to solve this problem, it's really simple. So we want to go from 1 to 6. So I should say, so if I say range 1, 6, it goes up to 5. So I should say range 1, 7. And this will go from 1 to 6. So in this next example, so I want to go from 6 to 1, right? And if I say range 6, 1, minus 1, so it's just going to go from 6 to 2. So what I should do is that I should subtract 1 more, and then I'll get it. So if I say range 6, 0, that is when I will get from 6 to 1. So which means that if you're going up, add 1 to your desired end. You want to end at 6, so add 1, end at 7. If you're coming down, so subtract 1 from your desired end. So you want to go from 6 to 1, so you should say 6 to 0. So that is how the range function works. So what about the random function? What should I do here? Should I say 1 to 6, or should I say 1 to 7? Right? Should I say 1 to 7? And that'll be actually 1 to 6. So the answer to this question is simple. Really simple. And the random function is a more intuitive and friendly function, and it doesn't have this little problem or sensitivity, should I say, of the range function. So unlike the range function, whatever the range you give to the random function, so it starts at the exact start, just like the range function, but unlike the range function, it also ends at the exact end. So which means that whatever range you give it, it's the numbers between those and exactly including the both ends, 1 and 6 in our case. So if you say random.random 1, 7, it's also going to generate some 7s. And, well, a dice doesn't have a 7th face unless you have a custom version. Okay, so I hope this point is clear, right? The range function, so you should avoid off by 1 error, add 1, subtract 1, but the random function does not need that. It exactly generates a number within and including both the start and the end. So we can just clear these additional things. Okay, so now the function is all but ready. Define dice roll self random.random. But if I call this function, nothing will happen because I haven't set the function to either like print something, return something, yield, or nothing. So now I should say something in here. So I'm gonna say return by default, right? So whenever I say dice roll, so it's an instance method, so it's clear that we should call it using an object of the class. So whenever I call this function, you come here and return random.randint16. Whenever I call this function and print it, so you should give me a random number from within the range 1 to 6, and including 1 and 6. So this is all but done now. So now our function, or as you know, a function within a class, is called method. So our dice roll method, our dice roll instance method is ready. So now let's go and use it. So you know that I should avoid this indentation now that I'm done with the function, and I just want to make an object. Oh, the whole program is indented. So let me get quickly fix this. Okay, now it's okay. So sorry for that. Should begin from right at the beginning, and I don't know how I had hit a tab before the work. So now the function, the method is ready. So we should create an object to be able to access and use this dice roll instance method, since it's an instance method. It's not a class method or a static method so that we can call with the name of the class. So let's say D1, dice1, right? Or I should say, let's say player1, right? P1. Okay, so P1 equals, so everyone knows how to make an object, right? So you should say P1 equal sign and assignment operator, not that comparison operator. So we just call the name of the class like a function, and done. We have created the P1 object. So do keep in mind that if you have some attributes or other things, defined within the init method initializers, you should fill those in here. But now, no worries. So now that the dice, an object of the dice class is ready, named P1. So now we can go ahead and call P1.diceRoll. So we can call this function of ours P1.diceRoll. But keep in mind, the function says return, okay? The function says return, so I should print in here. I should print whatever this has to say. So if the function had said print, then there was no need to say print again in here. I mean, you can say, but then it's just going to print the value and also print a none. So now that the function says return, I can just say print in here. And so I should say print. So print P1.diceRoll. Is there any problem? Yes. The dice roll is a method, so don't forget its parentheses. Right, so now it's ready. So let's go. Moment of truth. See if this works or not. Let me move my floating keyboard, and let's just close this. Okay. Yes. So let's run. Here we go then. We got 2. Okay, so let me run. So you can just run it again and again and see what comes up. 4 this time. And 3. And again, 5. Just not getting a 6. 3. 4. I guess it's... here we go. We got a 6 maximum. But, so this is it now. It's just going to generate from 1 to 6, as you saw, right? Look at, you've generated each and every number, I guess, right? Or not 2 until now, but... So this is how this works. Simulating a dice roll in Python. So you should first... So this is not necessary, but you're just defining a class named dice. And so we're just putting this function inside it. And then we can just add more attributes functions as we want to make the program more complete in the future. So you have to use random.randint. So for that, you have to import random. Do keep in mind that in here, it's not like the range function. No worries. Just give it a range and go ahead and create an object of yours and run the function. Run the method or the program. So one final try, 1. So with this video concludes. I hope it was useful, and I hope you have learned how to simulate a dice roll in Python. Goodbye.